Aren't you tired of being tired? Before you can reduce this feeling, you have to understand it first. In this video, we'll begin by talking about physical fatigue, then get into mental fatigue, and finally, we'll discuss the ways you can reduce these feelings in your day-to-day life. First, let's talk about physical fatigue, specifically what happens when you exercise. When we exercise, our body warms up, our faces get red, and our muscles get sore. These are the physical symptoms of our body creating energy so we can keep moving. For muscles to contract, the body needs a chemical called ATP, which is obtained through the breakdown of the sugar glucose. Glucose is pulled from our diet and stored in the body as glycogen. For this process to occur, the body needs oxygen, which is why we breathe more heavily when working out. When oxygen levels are low, glucose will be converted to lactic acid. Many people believe that lactic acid buildup is what causes them to be sore for a few days after working out. However, according to Stephen Roth, a kinesiologist at the University of Maryland, lactic acid actually causes muscles to feel like they're burning while exerting energy. Lactic acid is usually cleared from the body an hour after finishing working out. Muscle soreness from physical exertion is often caused by the process of muscle growth. When you use a muscle, working out, small tears occur in it that your body then regenerates, slightly increasing their size. The conversion of glucose to lactic acid actually slows down the ability of the muscles to do work, which is an important defense mechanism to protect the body from causing a lot of small tears. Now that we've seen what physical fatigue looks like, let's talk about mental fatigue. Mental exhaustion is what happens when we are exposed to prolonged cognitive activity. One cause of mental exhaustion is constant decision making. When we decide something, even a simple decision like what to have for lunch, we are using the executive function in our brain. Our brain functions like a muscle. If it's used too much, it gets tired. A psychologist at the University of Minnesota, Kathleen Vohs, showed in her studies that simply making a selection can deplete executive resources. In one study, they showed that participants who made choices at the mall were less likely to perform well on simple algebra tests, which demonstrates the notable decline of your ability to think clearly after exerting yourself even with seemingly simple tasks. In a Forbes article titled, "How to Overcome Mental Fatigue According to an Expert," other causes of mental exhaustion are clutter, overcommitting, avoidance and procrastination, perfectionism, and lack of sleep. Now that we've discussed what physical and mental fatigue are, let's dive into what we can do to prevent this exhaustion. Fatigue will always be a part of our lives, in both its physical and mental form. But in using some of the things we learned today, we can take steps towards controlling how and when it impacts us. In general, mental exhaustion can be avoided by reducing stress and preventing excessive decision making, which of course is easier said than done. However, giving yourself time to get away from your computers and phones, even if it's just sitting around and doing nothing, can help give your mind the rest it needs to perform at its best. Getting enough sleep is also extremely beneficial in helping the brain recover from use. As for physical fatigue, work on developing an understanding of the limits of your body. It's important to push yourself to improve your physical health, but overstepping the boundaries can lead to more damage than the benefits you are looking for. Using braces or other supportive gear for weaker parts of your body, or taking rest days can be effective ways of maximizing the time that you engage in physical activity while avoiding leaving yourself sore and aching. Remember, the next time you go to exercise, to minimize your fatigue, don't overthink your choices, don't go over your physical limits, and be stress-free.